What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Why We Love Horror. It's been, I think, I'm speaking for myself. I think it's been a good couple of weeks. But I'm JWMaher. That's Abby Brooks, closest to me. Aaron Brooks, furthest away from me. How are you guys doing so far?
Good. It's nice to be back. I'm glad I didn't have to talk about the movie last week, but I'm excited to talk about this one.
Yeah, and I'm also here, and I still do love horror.
Well, if you click through, you know that we're talking on this week. We're talking about a little movie by Radio Silence called Abigail.
Please let me out. I'm scared.
Cut the shit. You're really good at pretending to be a little girl.
Thank you.
Quick question. Who's inside a cage right now? What do we know about vampires? How do we kill it?
Crucifixes.
Stake through the heart. Daylight is a big one. We need to find a way out of here. We split up. It's just a game to her.
What can I say? I like playing with my friends.
Hello?
And yeah, that's accurate because you can still get tickets. Abigail's still in theaters. I'll just jump right out and say it. Like, I feel, and I think I said this to both of you, like, I think if you liked Ready or Not, you should like this movie. I mean, no offense, Aaron. I think we covered it on this channel. It's the same feel. It's a bunch of folks in a house and hijinks ensue. It's a good formula. I hope the Radio Silence guys keep doing this forever. What are you guys' initial thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, so we covered Ready or Not a couple months ago, and I think all of us really, really liked it. I love that movie. One of my favorites in recent years. So I was really excited for this movie. And yeah, I agree. I think for the most part, if you like Ready or Not, if you love Ready or Not, I think you'll really like this movie. There are a lot of similarities. It feels like it was directed by the Radio Silence guys. But yeah, I think if you like that, you'll like this for the most part.
Yeah, and I do agree that it is very similar to Ready or Not, and I did have a good time with Ready or Not the first time I watched it, but from that review I even said, it took me a few watches to really kind of relax and enjoy the more comedy horror aspects of the movie. And again, here I do think this is a comedy horror, which is okay. But like sometimes for me, especially the first watch, those are harder for me. And a lot of it was too familiar for me in a lot of ways. And I'm just going to throw out the trailer right away, that argument that the trailer shouldn't have shown the vampire, because I do agree with that. That's why I don't watch trailers. I did watch the trailer for this, so I did know the vampire. If I didn't know that, that would have been cool not to know the detail of the little girl, but
it's on the posters too.
And again, like it would have been better to keep that secret, but like I'm not going to use that argument as a reason why I didn't enjoy this movie as much as you guys.
I don't mind talking about that because I think if you get into like the discussion, and the discussion is being had online, like, why would they show that it's a vampire? It's good, and they treat it like a huge reveal in the movie. Yes, it does create a technical issue with the movie because then the pacing is weird. Because like there's no way, if you're either seen the trailer, read any news articles, or hyped about Radio Silence in general, or like can catch on any context clues, the fact that they drag out the reveal they've already given you for like the first third of the movie does kind of make you feel weird as a viewer, but I guess you need to just put that veil of ignorance on and just act like you didn't know. So, but so I'm with you on that. I can't argue. There's no counter argument to that. That's correct.
And even so, do we want to like talk about a synopsis before we start discussing the movie completely, I guess?
Sure. Hey, Abby, why don't you talk about the movie?
Abigail, talk about Abigail.
Abigail,
Yeah.
talk about Abigail.
Sure. So, as you have seen, I feel like this trailer, like I've seen this trailer so many times. Maybe it's because we've been going to the movies a lot. But as you see in the trailer, it's basically about a group of strangers who are all gathered together at this mansion and are told that they basically need to guard or protect this little girl who is a part of some like rich family. That's kind of what they say, is it's just her dad is a guy with a lot of money, and they're basically there to protect her all night and keep her there, and that's it. Again, in the trailer they tell you that the girl is actually a vampire, a ballerina vampire, and it basically turns into a hunt this group of people type of thing. And that's the synopsis.
That sounds good. I'm going to just go right ahead and do this.
$50 million they get.
Yes.
$50 million.
And I would clarify, it's not, they're really just, it's the tail end of a kidnapping. She's been held there, and they do kind of have permission to like kill her if they need to. But yeah, it's she's basically being held for ransom, and they're just there to wait until the money gets paid, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And they're a crack team of kidnappers who each have a specialty. You got like a hacker and a sniper and a driver and a whatever and a whatever and a whatever.
A parental addict who's recovering addict who's now just.
Everyone has very rich backstories in this movie, and
it was very Clue-esque in a way.
Yeah.
Just like they all had their specialty and reason to be there.
Basically, that's the whole first part of the movie. Is like, I think at one point in the movie, they literally are all sitting down and they go around in a circle almost, and basically the Melissa Barrera character kind of decodes each of them. And then later in the movie, another character talks about all of their background. So it happens kind of twice, actually, where you learn everything about everyone that's there.
Yeah, you get like a teaser about each person, and like no one contradicts Melissa Barrera's character when she cold reads them. And then Abigail, Abigail gives gives everybody's dossiers and like another monologue.
Right. The ones who make it till then.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, I'm used to, with found footage being like one of my favorite subgenres, like I'm used to the section of the movie where we get to know the people before the good stuff happens. And you know, those mileage varies on those. Some of those are better than others. With this, I did feel like it didn't need to be as long as it did for the first. It was like, all right, let's get to it. Let's get to it. So the first third of the movie, I didn't find as interesting as I think they wanted me to. I don't know about you guys.
I didn't mind that first half, honestly. I mean, yeah, I think it probably could have been cut a little bit short again, because we know what's going on. Like, they do treat it as it's like a big mystery. Like, we know she's a vampire. We know what's happening. But I mean, I found the characters interesting enough. Like, again, when they're talking about all the backgrounds, when they're all like sneaking around the house, like I thought at least a couple of them that stick around for the longest, I think they were interesting enough to hold it. Like, I liked the Melissa Barrera character. I thought, I mean, she's the lead. I like the Catherine Newton character. I thought she is once again really good. And then there's the Dan Stevens, I think that's his name. Like, he was really good and interesting too. And then there's like the Elon Musk looking fella. He was just he was this dumb strength guy, but like I thought all of them together were interesting enough to keep me interested until we got to the reveal of the vampire for her.
Sorry, I didn't mean with the cast. And I did mostly like them. Dan Stevens is supposed to be from Brooklyn, I think, or New York, somewhere in New York. He does a good enough job at it. Catherine Newton is good in everything. So her as, I believe it was Sammy. So it's Sammy, Melissa Barrera's Joey. I love Kevin Durand in pretty much everything. I just always have. So I thought he was unintentionally or intentionally funny, probably the closest to funny. And I guess that's one of my issues with the comedy horror of this movie, is that the comedy, besides the onions line, the Sammy, those are onions line. Yes, that's going to be like That's a classic line from
It's
this
the
movie.
best. It's the
that
best line.
people are going to be saying forever. Like, I get that. But besides that, I didn't have a lot of moments where this was funny, and it definitely wasn't scary, like, at all. It was pretty light on the horror. And, you know, another thing is that I was never concerned about Melissa Barrera's safety in this movie as Joey at all, like, ever. This movie had a lot of conveniences and like visible plot armor that I'm not really into in my movies, and that really does affect my enjoyment throughout the movie of it. And you know, we'll get to kind of another point that happens with another character in his leg that really bothers me as well. And like,
that's a radio silence problem.
and so that's so me and Radio Silence, a lot of their movies, and I'll talk about it in the review too. I'll go through my ratings for each of their movies before I rate this movie. I want
to jump back to Kevin Durant just 1 second. You mentioned you're a Kevin Durant fan. I'm a Kevin Durant fan.
Yes.
He actually is French Canadian. Has he ever played a French Canadian until now?
No, I don't believe. I'd have to. No, I don't think so.
He's always like some. I mean, with the exception of like The Strain, where he was Russian, he's always just like some tough American dude in like every movie. And finally, he gets to play a character that is what he is, which was cool for me. See.
No, that's a really good point. No, I never really thought about that. And oh man, R.I.P. The Strain, what they did to that show from what it started as. So sad.
Yeah, true that. But yeah. What I mentioned already, but like, the Radio Silence, I treat Abigail as like Radio Silence has made. You know, they've just kind of just been doing their art with like, you know, ever since VHS, and they've kind of like grown too fast. They make a bunch of weird like decisions in movies that are like, it doesn't make the movies any less entertaining, but it takes them away from reality. I mean, they're horror movies, so they're away from reality to begin with, but they bring them way away from reality. Looking at the you know, the Meeks siblings getting stabbed 1,000 times in Scream 5 and 6 and surviving. And then in this movie, we have the incident where Dan Stevens' character gets like a pull cue straight through his leg, his thigh.
Like the middle of his thigh. It's like
it comes out both sides, and like they pull it out. And even though she is an army medic, I would imagine a wound.
You're not supposed to pull it out.
I would imagine a wound that is like literally that big without stitches is gonna bleed a fuck ton to the point that
or be hard to run on.
Yeah,
at least.
Yeah, he was running just fine.
At least cause a limp. Like something like it's just okay. Like and I'm not a big talker in movies either, but in the middle of the movie, I'm like, what about his leg?
Yeah.
Like, and I don't like doing that because I do not like ruining people. But I'm like, hey, his fucking leg with the hole in it. Like, he should not be able to run or something. Stab him in the hand. Give him a Jesus stigmata. Like, something. Like, why the shoulder? Like, why do that if it's not going to play a factor? It bothers me even more. Talking about it bothered me in the middle of the movie.
Yeah. It's clear. I mean, I think I've seen almost every single Radio Silence movie, and it is a Radio Silence is just belief in the spirit of the human will.
For the character that they really like in the movie, while other characters really don't have human will. Yeah. And sorry, we are obliged to say Angus Cloud is in this movie too, and R.I.P. Angus Cloud. He was good as Angus Cloud.
He does not survive getting decapitated. If he survived getting decapitated, I'm like, wow, Radio Silence.
I would have liked that. That would have been fun. Like a little bit of use on. Like,
I want Radio Silence to eventually poke fun at themselves with like characters just gravely surviving mortal injuries in every movie.
Well, yeah, but either way, I'm sorry but continue.
That's enough shitting on them. Like I think at this point they know they do that. I think they're at a point where like it's kind of like they're jumping their own shark, and they're going to start doing it on purpose just to fuck with people that realize they do that.
Can I have one more, and then I'll move on. Your Honor.
Go right ahead.
And I'll see. So I did watch an interview with them on the red card. They do seem like the type of people who are very like excited to be like, look at how look at how witty and fun, how much fun we're at. Like, and I'm happy for them. They went as far to say like this movie might take place in the same universe as Ready or Not. And are you fucking kidding me? If it does not, why are they exploding?
Yeah.
Why are they doing the Ready or Not explode? If it doesn't, this is so dumb. It's not even funny.
Well, the Ready or Not universe is a universe where the devil is real. So why? Yeah, it's got to be in the same universe.
Sure, yeah, like it has. I'm someone like I think I heard somebody mention there's a portrait in the background of like somebody from the Dumas family in the past or something. Maybe
Interesting.
Either way, that's interesting. If it doesn't take place in Ready or Not universe, I'm even more upset though. Like because then it's even worse. It has to, and that's fine.
Like the whole it's just like the way human beings are. If they tell me that the Scream movies take place in the universe, I'll be upset. But the Ready or Not can take place in that universe, that's fine.
Yeah, like it really does seem like it's the same type of like mansion house.
Yeah, it looks like the same house. Even like the color, I don't know if color scheme is the right word, but it looks like it's filmed in like the same color as Ready or Not too. Yeah. Like that golden looking. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like the same light. Yeah, it's like the same lighting. Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's okay. Like that doesn't bother me. If they created the universe, that's fine.
That's kind of fun. I don't know.
It's fine.
Yeah, so we just get into the actual movie. Like, so there's a team of, I believe there's how many people? Like 6 in the team. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah,
it's six people, and Giancarlo Esposito is like the handler. So 6 people on the strike force.
Yeah, 7 in the team. There's $50 million. Each person gets $7 million.
Right,
plus $1 million left over.
So they kidnap her. She's at dance recital. She gets kidnapped pretty easily. You know, and there's like a whole it's like a mini Ocean's movie in the beginning, kind of. And then they get up to this mansion upstate. I believe they're in New York, but they're going to upstate New York. And then, Angus Cloud's character. First of all, the only weird horror movie-esque decision these people make. Giancarlo Esposito's like, hey, you got 24 hours. Make sure nothing happens to this girl. And they all just decide to fucking get obliterated. They got a decanter of bourbon, and they're just going to their house and that shit nonstop. And I think does Angus Cloud's character also like smoke pot? I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he does.
Yeah, they're tying it on hard. I guess because they think it's just like a
little girl, you know.
What world she is, like 11-year-old girl, whatever she's supposed to be. Right. And then the shit starts hitting the fan. Angus Cloud goes, he's got the munchies, he's in the kitchen, and then he loses his head, literally. So what do you guys think about once we hit Act 2 and the bodies start dropping? How do you feel?
Bodies hit the floor. Giancarlo Esposito wasted, also sin. Yeah. So there's some good kills. The kills are very, very good. There's good gore as well. Aside from the Ready or Not blood splats as well. So I had a good time kind of guessing what order they would go down to Melissa Barrera. But again, I was like, Melissa Barrera and Dan Stevens are making it to the end.
Pretty safe. Because
they're Melissa Barrera and Dan Stevens, and they're making it to the end. So again, that's my own problem with these types of movies sometimes, is that got in the way for me. So, Abby, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I thought the kills were really good. I didn't mind the explosions and like the blood splatters. Like, yes, like it is very much so like the ending of Ready or Not. But I liked it. I thought it was fine. It didn't bother me as much as Aaron. But yeah, I mean, I thought once people start dying, it got really it really did pick up, and it was really good. Yeah. And it was kind of cool to guess who was involved with what, who was going to go first, that type of thing. Again, I thought the characters were interesting, so I kind of cared a little bit more.
I think another Ready or Not comparison, kind of, it's a little looser comparison. It's just the fact that the main characters, the protagonists, for lack of a better word, constantly hatch plans that sound good, and they just fuck it up. They just nonstop fuck it up, just like in Ready or Not. Whereas in Ready or Not, it's the antagonist. In this movie, it's the protagonist.
It's inverse,
right?
Yeah, every plan they have is just horrible. Sounds good coming out of their mouths. Horrible execution. And Abigail's just ahead of them every step of the way in the movie. Like
Yeah.
there's the scene where like it's revealed that like the one dude Rickles is actually ex-military, he's an ex-Marine sniper. And like he makes it down the hallway like 10 feet. And it's like and he's just like fucked up. It's like, okay. And then I think a scene that like no one, it was in the second trailer I just showed us. The actual reveal of like the swimming pool full of dead bodies that Catherine Newton falls into is a great scene.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah, reminded me of Star Wars, like the garbage chute.
Yeah, and then the scene when spoiler, like Catherine Newton's character doesn't exactly get killed conventionally. She gets turned. She gets bit and she turns. And then there's a whole like Suspiria scene where she mimics Abigail's dancing, which I think is also a fantastic scene.
I thought of Us. I thought of the Us and the Tethered. And I would like that scene a lot more if the music selection was better. There was some weird like cool hip hop, like modern, like I didn't like the music selection in those scenes because I'm big into dance scenes for a reason or no reason. Either way, I love them in the middle of a movie, and the dancing itself was great, but like the music kind of did not increase the intensity for me of the movie. Again, sounds like
I think it was meant to be funny. It was meant to be funny.
Well, then no one in our theater laughed. So
whimsical. It was meant to be whimsical.
Yes, it was. I didn't twirl my stat. But I'm sorry. Their movies are almost for me, but they're not. So and I know they're good. So I'm happy for people who like them.
And I would say the strength of the movie, given the controversy over, I can't believe they showed us she was a fucking vampire in the trailer, is the fact that they don't give away a ton of stuff because the third act is full of twists and turns that you don't see coming. I feel from the fact that Giancarlo Esposito's character never left the house, he's controlling everything, and B, he's also like a vampire. Some characters get turned into vampires, some don't. There's a lot of subversion of vampire lore. Like a lot of things don't work on her, like crucifixes don't work, garlic doesn't work, all that jazz. What do you guys think of the third act? And like, you feel free to spoil some more stuff.
Well, I think there actually another scene that I don't think we talked about, going back to like things not working on her. I really like the scene where three of the characters are like, all right, we got the stakes, we got the garlic, we got the crucifix, and we're all just going to go in there and attack her with all these things. And it goes horribly wrong, which I think was a really good scene. Mm-hmm. But then also skipping forward to the very end of the movie, I figured Giancarlo Esposito was going to be in on it, even just from seeing the trailers. I'm not mad about it because I didn't think he was going to be a vampire in the end. But even just when we constantly saw the trailers, I was like, the way he's talking, like you can just tell that he's going to be in on it somehow. Like he's involved with this. But yeah, him as a vampire, I thought was really, really cool. And then I thought it was an interesting twist. Like I wasn't sure what was going to happen when he tries to make a deal with the Dan Stevens character and say, I'll turn you into a vampire if, you kill the girl or something like that. And I wasn't sure. I thought that was really interesting and kind of a lot of tension. Like I wasn't sure what he was going to do. And then he does agree to it and then kills Giancarlo Esposito. And then from there, it just kind of turns into a huge battle, which I liked that scene also.
Aaron?
Yeah. So I'm like confused with how vampire powers work because for Frank, they like instantly set in. Let's go. He needs to become super vampire right away. Other times, like it's like, oh, you have to learn the powers over time, and like you have to get the powers, and like you'll turn slowly, like Sammy. So it just depends, I guess, on the person.
Well, she was bit on her arm, and he was bit on his neck. So
that's true.
He died faster.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Yeah, plug that hole up.
Got it.
Yeah, dang it. I'm not trying to take this movie down. But like,
well, and I thought it was also different because with Catherine Newton, she was just bit and then she was controlled by Abigail. But with Dan Stevens, he was bit, but then also was like
blood.
the blood as well.
Yeah, that
So I
is
feel like
true.
that might be the difference as well.
The source. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, and then he posed a Hulk Hogan bash at the beach, 96 or whatever year that was, when he showed up in WCW, and turns on he goes heel and turns on John Esposito. He wants to.
What side is he on?
Exactly. But yeah, John, what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, then there's a lot of twists. I think the action fight choreography at the end, it doesn't go full radio silence. I believe the injuries Melissa Barrera sustains are actually not fatal in the fight scene. Like they look survivable, with the exception when he throws her from the first story to the second story and she hits the fucking wall, and I'm like, oh, she's fucking dead.
But her skin is extremely tough because throughout she's getting thrown into glass, not a cut on her, not a scrape on her, boss. She just all right, we're good.
She takes some slams though. I like definitely. And that one huge throw was the one like chef's kiss from Radio Sounds. Like, we're gonna give you one thing that would kill 99% of the human population.
But not
here we go.
Not joking.
And then we get the big reveal of Matthew Good shows up as like Dracula at the end of the movie. So that was cool.
Yeah, and Abigail, the 300-year-old, 11-year-old, still has like father issues that she has to hash.
I mean, is he really her father? If you look at all the pictures in the mansion, it's not really like a father-daughter relationship. It seems it's more.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a lot of like really like.
So what are they dating?
Quasi-romantic hand-holding in a lot of the pictures and shit like that, and clearly like he's her master. He's not her father.
Oh,
so yeah,
wow.
he's the one that turned her.
Oh my!
And there's actually the cool thing about the mythology. There's a lot of like weird, like when you go back and think about the dialogue in the movie, like Lazar, the Dracula character, is this crime lord that's like terrorizing New York, and like Dan Stevens' character was undercover in his organization.
And I did like how they covered up how Abigail murders people by saying that he'd been hiring a hitman named Valdez.
Yeah,
that was really clever and very like, okay, I buy that.
She's Valdez.
Exactly. Yeah. She's Valdez.
Yeah.
That was awesome. So good job there. That was really
nice. So she's become like a low-key, like totally clandestine hitman because no one's going to suspect like a 10-year-old girl dressed in a tutu to be like a murderer. And they're talking about all these horrific murders that this Valdez person has committed, like where they leave witnesses in a room and they're all torn to pieces. And like there was no clues, but it was her the whole time, and you clearly see that she's capable of that at full strength.
Sure.
And also, like then like the fact that Melissa Barrera saved Abigail, she gets like a free pass to just like peace out at the end of the movie. But if we have Ready or Not, we have Abigail. Now we have this world. We have the silence verse going on.
Sure. Yeah.
Anything we left out?
I'm sure there is something, since I just brought up Valdez at the very tail end of this. I'm sure there's maybe, but either way, like I think we pretty much covered and got the gist of it. And
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I feel pretty secure in my views after talking to you guys.
All right, let's see what I can fix it. Everyone's talking about the real problem with this movie is the fact that like your marketing team did not talk to your core team here. I think they should have planned out how they were going to market this movie beforehand, because the marketing created pacing issues in the movie. Without the marketing the way it is, the pacing was fine. With the marketing the way it is, you're sitting there like, okay, yeah, we know exactly when. Okay, we got it. So that kind of bothered me a little bit. But objectively, if I think about the movie, if I hadn't seen any trailers, it would have been probably the same for me. But I'm just letting everybody know that I understand your issue, and it's on the marketing team.
Yeah, I don't really know how you fix that either. I know it says John can fix it, but like
you just don't do that.
It's like do you kind of market it and be like, is this a devil possession? Is it a werewolf? Does it really matter? Because that wouldn't really matter to me either.
I think if you took out all the scenes where you see her as a vampire,
yes,
in the trailer. And it's just like, this team has kidnapped this girl.
What goes wrong?
And then like something clearly goes wrong and people are getting killed. And you just show it from the killer's perspective, or like you make it look like it's a vampire. Sure, it could be a fucking vampire. Who gives a shit? But you just don't show that she's the vampire. I think you fix it.
I agree.
Yeah.
John fixed it.
We fixed it. All right, let's get on to these ratings. You're willing to start low and go high. So, Aaron, go ahead.
Hello. So yeah, my radio silence experience so far, really quickly. The Scream movies, 3.5. First time I watched Ready or Not, 3.5. First time I watched this, a lot of my problems with I brought them up. I'm not going to kind of keep repeating them because it's kind of getting repetitive at this point. This is just a movie that for me, it wasn't too memorable. I do appreciate original horror. I do hope people go out and seek it out, and I'm glad there's an audience for it. It wasn't for me. I'm going to be generous here. I'm going to give it a 3 still, but I am leaning towards like 2.75, 2.5. So 3 videotapes for me, but this isn't a movie I'll rewatch without Abby. And when I rewatch it with Abby, I hope that my score goes up and maybe some of my kind of frustrations I can put to the side. But a lot of them did get in the way with the movie. I didn't find it that funny. And with a comedy horror movie, that's kind of the point.
Fair enough. All right. Go ahead, Abby.
So I did really love this movie. It is hard though to not compare it to Ready or Not, which I do obviously like better. I think Ready or Not is funnier than this movie. But I like the originality. I like the characters. I like the plot. Like I really enjoyed all of it. And there were some funny moments. Like I did really have a good time with this movie. And I think it makes me curious with this Ready or Not 2 announcement and them saying like, oh, it's in the same universe. I wonder if they're going to do something there. Maybe not. I don't know. But either way, I did really love this movie. At this point, it's in like my top favorite so far. So I gave it a 4.5.
All right. I'm kind of on the same page as Abby. Like I had a great time during this movie. I don't know, maybe I just have a soft spot for these guys, and like with the exception of Southbound, I forgive everything they do. But yeah, I think it's a ton of fun. I love all the characters. I'm starting to like, have like build up a callous against, watching characters who should get killed, almost get killed 20 times and survive. I'm starting to forgive all of it because this movie had me entertained the entire way, even knowing what was going to happen. All the surprises hit. I'm exactly the same place as Abby. I'm at 4.5 out of 5. All right. So now I will throw up that banner. There we go. You can go to that website. That first vertical line at the end is a lowercase L. The second huge vertical line is a capital I. I'm not going to go through the whole goddamn thing. It's week 17, and I got it right the first time. And week 17 is watch a French language horror movie. We ended on me, so I'll start with me. I watched Gaspar Noé's Lux Aeterna, which I liked. But if this movie wasn't created to kill people with epilepsy, I don't know why he made this movie. If you have epilepsy, don't watch this movie. You will go to the hospital. I guarantee you will be put in the hospital. Otherwise, it's a really good like dissection of like just the chaos of like the movie making industry and like how female voices are like disregarded in the film industry, all around kind of like a weird. I don't want to say it's body horror, but it's film. I would say it's a film horror movie. It goes places, and seriously, avoid if you cannot handle strobing lights, don't even start this movie. You will die. Abby.
So I did something a little bit different for this week. I love French horror. I like the really dark and gross French horror. And I did not watch one of those types of movies. I watched a movie from 1955, which I rarely do also. I watched, I might say it wrong, I'm sorry, Diabolique from 1955, which I thought was really good. It took me like a little bit to get into it, but once I did, like I thought the beginning was set up really good. It's basically about 2 women, and there's this really terrible man. One is married to him, one is a mistress, I guess, and they basically plot to kill him, and they do. and then weird things start happening. And even just for the ending alone, like I really love the ending. I didn't actually see it coming. I'm really good at guessing those kinds of things, and I didn't see it coming. So I would definitely recommend it.
Yeah, Les Diaboliques is a classic. Aaron?
Yeah, and I went with so I've also watched a lot of the French horror at this point, new wave or like French extremity. I've seen Diabolique before as well, and a great movie. But I went with a Shudder exclusive that I'd actually kind of just scrolled over kind of a lot of times, not really knowing what it was. It's called Candisha. It's a Moroccan French horror, or it's a Moroccan movie, but in French, and it's basically Moroccan Candyman. I see a lot of people bringing it up and kind of dismissing it quickly and just being like, go watch Candyman instead.
Is this the Julian Maury, Alexander Bustillo Candisha? I think
so. Yes. Yeah,
okay.
That's the directors. And, I really, really liked it. I think it did a really good job. It's 3 female teen characters who end up evoking this Candisha spirit, who's actually based on a real Moroccan spirit as well. And some really good gore in this movie. Like the way the monster evolves as it kills people and becomes more and more powerful is really interesting as well. And again, like excellent gore. I think this movie like deserves way more like attention than it's gotten. It definitely would be in my upper tier of Shudder movies. And like from what I've read, I've read some reviews saying that with the translation, you're missing out on like a lot of the slang that teens are like using in the beginning that like apparently builds on the realism if you can. So the first little bit of the movie, like that did kind of take me out because I'm like reading what these teens are supposed to be saying to each other, but it's also like butchered apparently, and that makes sense. So either way, long-winded way of saying Candisha. It's spelled Kandisha. I really highly recommend it. I think it's just a fun time. It's not too, and like it's not the best movie you're ever going to see, but I think it's upper tier of Shudder releases for sure.
And those guys are great. Like they're the guys that did Inside and Levid,
Yes.
and so like the Deep House. If you're not if you don't know about those 2 directors, get in there. Watch those goddamn movies.
I think it got like held against not being as gross as Inside, but there's some insane gore in this movie still. That if they didn't make Inside, you like would be like, wow, this is crazy. So yeah, go check it out.
All right, that's that for that week. So if you made this part of the video, like, comment, subscribe, and share. Every week's the same stuff now. Monday versus Thursday. This. Also, horror headline at 9:00. Almost after this is done, you can go over to TikTok or Facebook or YouTube. We're just streaming that shit everywhere. And then Friday, as always, Why We Love Horror Trivia. Till next time, I'm JWMaher, Abby Brooks, and Aaron Brooks, and this has been Why We Love Horror.